My entitled mother-in-law declared she would be moving into our home since she was from a more prestigious family and deserved to control our household. When I refused, she secretly changed the locks while I was at work, smirking. Now let's see who's in charge. But when the realtor arrived with a contract in my name, her jaw dropped as I said, "Pack your bags, because this house just got a new owner." Hi Reddit. This is a long one. I've been sitting on this for months now, just waiting for things to settle down before I shared. I didn't know if I ever would. But after telling it to a few friends who told me I had to post it somewhere, I figured this sub was the right place. So here we go. I'm a 37-year-old guy living in Spokane, Washington. I work as a history teacher at a public middle school. My wife Claire, 34, is a trauma nurse. We've been married for 6 years and together for 9. We're not rich, but we're not struggling. We live in a quiet suburb just outside the city. Small 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. It's nothing fancy, but it's ours. I bought the house before we got married, and it's in my name only. Not because of any shady reason, it just made the loan process smoother at the time. We never thought anything of it. Now here's where the story begins. Claire's mom, let's call her Delia, is difficult. Think of every classic entitled mother-in-law stereotype. That's her. She grew up and lived most of her life in New Canaan, Connecticut. Very old money vibes. Designer everything. Thinks anyone who shops at Target is poor. Claire didn't grow up spoiled, though. She broke away from that lifestyle as soon as she could. She put herself through nursing school and moved across the country to get some space from her family. She met me a year later. Delia never approved of me. She didn't like that I was a teacher. She didn't like that I wasn't from a prestigious family. She made snide comments every time we saw her. Stuff like, "Oh, how quaint. You have a garage but no wine fridge? Public school? That must be fulfilling. A lawnmower? Don't you hire someone for that?" She visited once or twice a year. It was tolerable. Claire always stood up for me. I tried to keep the peace. The setup. 2 years ago, Delia's husband passed away. I won't pretend I like the guy, but he kept Delia in check. After he died, she lost any sense of boundaries she had left. About a month after the funeral, we got a call. Not a question. Not a request. A declaration. I've decided I'm going to move in with you two for a while. I need a change of scenery. Claire was stunned. I was annoyed. We were already dealing with a lot. Work stress. Trying for a baby. Just life. We said no. Claire told her gently that it wasn't a good time. That we didn't have the space. That she needed time to grieve properly and maybe talk to someone. Delia didn't like that answer. A week later, she showed up at our doorstep, with suitcases. I kid you not, she had a moving van behind her with 6 boxes of clothes, furniture, and her Pomeranian named Kingston. She walked in like she owned the place. Told us she'd just stay for a month. She also told Claire she would be taking the master bedroom because she had back issues and needed a proper mattress. I was furious. Claire begged me to just give it time. She's alone now, she said. She's grieving. Let's just see how it goes. It didn't go well. Life with Delia. Within 2 days, she was rearranging furniture. Within a week, she was giving me a daily chore list. By the second week, she told Claire she should start dressing like a proper wife, instead of someone working in a cafeteria. Claire wears scrubs. She made it clear she thought the house wasn't good enough for her. She complained about the water pressure, the size of the fridge, the lack of a bidet. She even had the nerve to ask me how much my salary was and then laughed. Every time I came home from work, she was sitting on my recliner, watching HGTV with Kingston on her lap and a glass of wine in her hand. When I'd say anything, she'd just smile and go, "Don't be so sensitive. I'm just here to help." One night I snapped and said, "You are a guest here. This is my house." She looked me straight in the face and said, "Actually, it's our house now. I'm family. And unlike you, I come from a real home." Claire tried to keep the peace. I stayed quiet for a while. But then came the final straw. The day everything changed. It was a Thursday. I'll never forget it. I came home from school around 4 p.m. I tried to unlock the front door, but my key wouldn't turn. I checked the key. Tried again. Nope. Didn't work. I knocked. No answer. Tried the back door. Locked. Garage? Locked. I called Claire. She was at work. She hadn't changed the locks. Delia finally opened the door with the smuggest look I have ever seen on a human face. "Oh, you're home early. I had the locks changed. For safety. We can't have just anyone walking in." I was stunned. "You locked me out of my own house?" she said. "Let's just say, you needed a reminder of who's in charge now." Then she closed the door in my face. I stood there for a minute, not sure whether to laugh or scream. Instead, I walked back to my car, drove to a nearby park, and just sat there for a couple of hours thinking. I made a phone call. The next day, I called a real estate agent. A guy I knew from college who'd been posting success stories all over Facebook. I explained the situation. He pulled up the deed and confirmed what I already knew: the house was 100% mine. And thanks to some recent development projects in our area, including a new Amazon warehouse opening just 10 minutes away, the value had gone way up. We listed it privately. I told him I didn't want any signs in the yard. Nothing obvious. Just quiet showings, only when Delia was out. Claire was in on it too. She'd make sure her mom was shopping, or getting her hair done, during open house times. It didn't take long. We got a full cash offer in under 3 weeks. Closing date, Friday at noon. Delia had no idea. She was too busy picking out new curtains for when she redecorated the living room. Friday came fast. Claire had taken the day off. I called in sick. Delia was in her usual spot, sitting on the patio with sunglasses, sipping iced tea like she was running a spa resort. She had no clue the house wasn't going to be hers much longer. At 11:45 a.m., the Realtor's car pulled into the driveway. Delia looked up and raised an eyebrow. "Who's that?" I said. "He's here for me. Don't worry about it." She watched as he walked up with a folder under his arm. She stayed seated but leaned forward, trying to listen. The Realtor shook my hand and said, loud enough for her to hear, "Everything is ready. Buyers wired the money. Just needs a final signature." That got her attention. She stood up. "Buyer? What buyer?" I looked at her and calmly said, "The new owner." Her face froze. "You're joking." I didn't answer. She walked up, looking like she was about to explode, and said, "What the hell are you talking about? You can't just sell our house." I said, "It's my house. You've known that. You just chose to ignore it. You wouldn't dare." The Realtor opened the folder, flipped to the deed, and pointed at the owner name, mine. Black and white. No mistake. She looked like she'd swallowed a whole lemon. Claire would never let this happen. Claire, who had been standing behind the screen door the whole time, stepped out. "Actually, I helped set the showings." Delia turned pale. For the first time since she'd shown up with her designer bags and her condescending tone, she was speechless. But she recovered fast. "You think you can throw me out?" "I'm your mother," Claire said. "You're not my mother when you treat my husband like garbage and act like a dictator in our home." Then came the twist I didn't expect. Delia didn't cry. She didn't scream. She smirked. "Well then," she said slowly, "it's a good thing I already spoke to a lawyer." Claire and I looked at each other. "Excuse me?" I said. "I've been living here long enough," she said. "I have residency rights. Your little sale might not go through so easily." I thought she was bluffing. Just another power move. But then she pulled out her phone and showed us an email. It was real. She'd contacted an attorney. Claimed she was a long-term resident being evicted without notice. Claimed she'd made financial contributions to the household. Total BS, but just enough to stall things. My stomach dropped. We paused the sale. My realtor advised me to hold off until we figured out if Delia could legally delay the transfer. The buyers were flexible, but only for a couple of weeks. The lawyer I hired told me the same thing. Her claims were thin, but with the right judge she could drag this out for months. And if she filed for something like a restraining order or tenant protection, it'd be worse. So I did what anyone desperate would do. I played her game. Over the next few days, I acted like nothing had changed. I cooked dinner. I cleaned. I let her talk down to me like always. She bragged to her bridge club on speakerphone about how she was taking over the home and that her daughter had finally come to her senses. I kept notes. Recorded conversations. Took pictures of her mail and packages that still had her Connecticut address on them. Anything to prove she wasn't really living here. Meanwhile, Claire checked her closet. Half the clothes were still packed in boxes. Her bed? A blow-up mattress because she hated our guest room bed. Kingston? Hadn't even been updated with our address at the vet. We gathered everything. After about a week, We filed a formal rebuttal to her claim. Our lawyer submitted evidence that she was never a tenant, never paid rent, and had only been staying temporarily. Claire even found a voice memo where Delia herself had said, "I'm just staying here until I find something better." Gold. Still, it wasn't over. Delia caught on. One night, she cornered me in the kitchen. "You think you're clever, don't you?" I didn't answer. "I'm not leaving. You hear me? I gave up everything to come here. My husband died. My life fell apart. And you want me to go back to a cold, empty house in Connecticut? I won't." Her voice cracked on that last word. I could see the fire in her eyes, but behind it was something else. Fear. And I'll be honest. For a second, I felt bad. But then I remembered sleeping in my car because she changed my locks. The next morning, she escalated. She called the police. Said we were trying to evict her unlawfully. Claimed abuse. Said Claire had turned on her. And I was a violent man. Police came. Knocked on our door. Asked questions. Luckily, we had everything documented. The recordings. The texts. The fact that she still had her own house, paid off, just sitting in Connecticut. And the officers? They knew who she was. Apparently she had called them 3 times already over noise complaints that didn't exist. They gave her a warning for filing false reports. That should have ended it. But no. She left the house that afternoon. Packed a few things, told us she was going for a drive. She didn't come back that night. The next day, we got an email from her lawyer. A formal cease and desist, demanding we stop harassing her client and threatening to sue for emotional damages. My hands were shaking when I read it. I had no clue how far she'd take this. After that cease and desist email, Claire and I sat in total silence. We were both reading it on our phones at the kitchen table. I remember the hum of the refrigerator being the only sound for a while. It was surreal. The woman who waltzed into our house like royalty was now acting like we'd ruined her life. She had left the house with a few bags, but all her other stuff, her tacky gold photo frames, her massive perfume bottles, Kingston's designer dog bed, was still here. She hadn't moved out. Not officially. She was trying to mess up the sale. Delay everything long enough that maybe the buyers would give up. Or worse, maybe she thought if she dragged it out long enough, we'd give in and sign the house over to her. I didn't say that to Claire, but I felt it. That night, Claire tried calling her. Straight to voicemail. She tried texting. Nothing. Then, around 11:30 p.m., Delia posted on Facebook. A long, dramatic message about being betrayed by family, having no place to go, and how she was being thrown out like garbage by people who used to call her mom. She tagged Claire in it. And her friends, mostly other wealthy retirees from New Canaan, went off in the comments. Saying things like, "I always knew your husband was after her money, shame on your daughter, don't worry, sweetie, you'll land on your feet, you always do." We were stunned. This woman was publicly turning this into some soap opera. I didn't even know half the people commenting, but they started messaging me directly. Calling me selfish. Asking how I could be so cruel to a grieving widow. One even asked, "How much is she paying you for the house? Bet you're cashing in on her pain." Claire wanted to respond. I told her not to. That's exactly what Delia wanted, attention, drama, pity. We stayed silent. But then things got worse. 2 days later, the buyer's agent called my realtor. He was uncomfortable. Apparently someone had contacted the buyers directly and told them the house was involved in a legal family dispute, and they may be at risk of buying a property that will be contested. That someone? Delia. She had somehow tracked them down. How? We had no clue. But it worked. The buyers pulled out. My realtor was furious. I was furious. Claire was ready to scream. All that work. All the planning. All the late-night strategy sessions. Gone. And Delia? She came back the next day. Like nothing happened. Walked in around noon with shopping bags from Nordstrom, humming a song like she didn't just torpedo our lives. I didn't say anything. She looked at me and smiled. "I bought a new tablecloth. This kitchen is so drab, it needed a feminine touch." Claire nearly broke a glass in her hand. I pulled her aside and said quietly, "We need another angle. Legal is too slow. She's playing dirty. We can't just keep reacting." Claire looked at me and said something I'll never forget. "Then let's stop reacting. Let's trap her." That night, we put a plan together. Step 1, record everything. Not just conversations, photos, videos, timestamps. Step 2, Build a case that she was intentionally sabotaging a legal real estate transaction. That crosses into fraud and defamation. Step 3. Get someone else involved who Delia couldn't charm or threaten. Claire had a friend, Tasha, who worked as a social worker for the state. She wasn't a lawyer, but she knew how to document domestic disputes, property abuse, and psychological manipulation. She agreed to stop by the house the next day under the guise of a wellness check for Claire. Totally legal, totally casual. Delia was home. Tasha knocked, introduced herself, said she was just checking in since Claire had reportedly been going through stress at home. Delia loved it. Ate it up. Told her I was a cold, distant man, and that Claire was fragile and being manipulated. While she was ranting, Claire hit record. Tasha asked Delia if she lived here. Of course I do, Delia said. Then, without missing a beat, she added, I run this place. My daughter's too weak to take charge, and her husband? Let's just say he's here because no one better came along. She laughed. Later in that same recording, she literally said, Once I have control of the house, I'll fix everything. Tasha left. We uploaded the recording. Sent it to our lawyer. It was exactly what we needed. Proof that she wasn't just staying temporarily. She was plotting, planning, and most importantly, sabotaging us. The lawyer called it intentional interference with the contract. Game on. Here's where it all started to unravel, for her. The lawyer filed an official complaint. We sent a cease and desist of our own, warning her that if she tried to contact any future buyers, she'd face civil charges. We relist the house. Quietly. This time under a new LLC I formed, just to keep the trail clean. No public listing. Only private viewings with vetted buyers. Delia didn't know. Then, 2 nights later, Claire got a message from one of her cousins. Hey, your mom is saying you guys signed the house over to her, and she's going to kick you both out. She's looking for interior designers. What's going on? She was telling people we gave her the house. That was it. That was the final nail. I called the lawyer at 8 a.m. the next morning. We're done waiting. Let's go to court. The hearing date was set. Our lawyer advised we stay calm. Let the evidence speak. Let her bury herself. But Delia? She doubled down. A week before the court date, she hosted a dinner at our house, without telling us, for 2 of her society friends visiting from Connecticut. Claire and I came home to find our dining table set with white linen, expensive wine opened, candles lit, and classical music playing. Delia was in the middle of telling them. It's just a matter of paperwork now. I'll officially be the sole owner by next month. Claire and her little teacher husband are moving into a rental. Something more their style. I didn't say a word. I just walked into our bedroom, shut the door, and texted our lawyer. Claire, on the other hand, lost it. I could hear her voice through the door. Tight, angry, cracking. Why are you doing this, Mom? Why are you lying to people? Why are you pretending this is your house? Delia, calm as ever, said. Because it will be. You two don't know how to manage anything. You don't even have real careers. You think I'm going to let you ruin this house? I'm fixing it. Claire shouted. You changed our locks. You lied. You tried to kick my husband out of the house he bought before he even met me. There was silence for a beat. Then I heard Delia say something that made my blood go cold. He doesn't deserve you. You think he's loyal? You think he's not going to walk away like your father did? Claire screamed. I opened the door just in time to see her throw a wine glass into the sink with a loud crash. Her face was red. She was shaking. Delia's friend sat frozen. Claire said through tears, Get out. Get out of my sight. Delia turned to her guests and smiled like nothing had happened. Excuse me, my daughter's just having a little moment. You know how nurses are, stressful work. They stood up. Left without saying goodbye. That was the tipping point. Claire sat down on the floor. Knees to her chest. Silent. I sat beside her. We didn't say anything for a while. Then Claire whispered, I don't think I ever really knew her. The court day arrived. It was small. No dramatic gavel banging. Just a hearing room with too much air conditioning and bad coffee. Delia wore all black, like she was going to a funeral. She cried. Said we betrayed her. Said she gave up her old life to come live with family. But then our lawyer played the recording. The one where she said she was taking over the house. That Claire was weak, and that she'd fix everything once she had control. The judge looked at her and asked, Can you explain this? Delia said it was sarcasm. That she was Joking. But her voice on the recording didn't sound like a joke. The judge wasn't buying it. Then came the worst part. The judge asked Claire if she wanted to speak. Claire stood up and said, without looking at her mom, "You came into our home like a hurricane. You insulted my husband. You lied about us. You tried to tear us apart. And you say it's because you were grieving, but what you really wanted was control. You never wanted to be part of our life. You wanted to run it." Delia didn't say a word. Claire kept going. "You were never going to be happy here. And the truth is, I don't think you ever really loved me for who I am. You just loved the version of me you imagined. The one who married rich. The one who stayed on the East Coast. The one who lived in your shadow." There was a long silence. Then the judge ruled. Delia had no legal right to the house. She was not a tenant. She had no lease, no agreement, no contribution to the mortgage. The sale could move forward. And, if she interfered again, she could be charged with fraud. She stood up and shouted, "You'll regret this. I gave birth to you. I was the only one who ever cared." The bailiff told her to calm down. She left the courtroom without looking back. We sold the house a month later. Moved into a quiet rental across town. Delia went back to Connecticut. Claire blocked her on everything. I didn't ask questions. But then, a few weeks after we moved, we got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. From Delia. It said, "You betrayed me. I will never forgive you. When you fall, don't come running to me. You'll remember this moment when no one else is there." Claire read it. Folded it. Put it in a drawer. Never opened it again. Some people might ask why we didn't try to make peace. Because some relationships aren't meant to be fixed. Delia wasn't a mother looking for connection. She was a woman trying to hold on to power. She lost. But honestly? So did we. Claire still wakes up some mornings asking herself what she could have done differently. Sometimes she blames herself. Sometimes she gets angry all over again. I just tell her, we did what we had to do. I lost the house, but I kept my marriage. We got peace back. I don't know if Claire will ever talk to her mom again. I don't ask. All I know is, every time I come home now, the key works. And no one's waiting inside to tell me they're in charge. That's enough. For now.